Hey everyone, this is Dan here, interview coach at datainterview.com. One question I often get is how do you develop product sense? You see, I'm not really surprised by this question because a lot of clients who are preparing for data science interviews are often focused on product data science roles. And product data science, there's all kinds of questions. There's questions about success metric, there are questions about how do you improve a product, and how do you test an idea. And the driving engine behind all of these product data science questions is really understanding product sense. So what is product sense and how do you cultivate it? So hopefully over the course of the next couple minutes, I can clarify what that means and how do you sharpen it so that you can ace data science interviews. In data science, one of the areas you're tested on is product sense. But how do you go about cultivating this? Well, let's start with the definition of what it actually means. Product sense essentially is composed of two essential ingredients. It's empathy and execution. Let's take a deep dive on empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and feel what a user is experiencing. How do you know what value to provide to a user if you don't know what they are experiencing? Think about any of the products that we're using today, whether it's Uber, Google Search, or Amazon. All of these product ideas came from the fact that the founders understood what a user was experiencing, and they came up with an idea to improve their experience. So every product ideas always start with empathy. Now let's take a look at an example, let's just say Uber for instance. Before Uber came around, how did people transport from point A to point B? They would have to arrange rides or take public transportation or drive themselves. And when you're in an urban area, like New York City for instance, where I live right now, it's very cumbersome to plan the logistics behind this and you end up wasting a lot of time. And so what Uber did was it created an on-demand solution so that regardless of where you are, as long as you drop a pin on a map, a driver is going to pick you up in a few minutes and it will take you to wherever you want to go. And so Uber helped save time. So as you can see, every product always starts with empathy for a user. Now let's talk about the second ingredient in product sense. It's execution. Execution is the ability to solve a user problem with product decisions using ideation, analytics, and experiments. Now, bulk of the data science interview questions focus around the execution part. Whether you're asked interview questions such as how do you estimate the market sizing of a product, how do you test the product, or how do you measure the product, all of these boil down to clearly understanding the execution part of product decision making. And it's not surprising why they love to ask these questions, because if you are a data scientist in their product data science team, you're going to be focused a lot on building metrics, running experiments, and help make executives and product managers make key decisions so you can help their platform achieve success. Now that you understand what product sense means, let's think about how to cultivate it. You can cultivate product sense with the following exercise, which is product breakdown. What that basically entails is that you just pick out a project and you break it down into essential components. And in this exercise, we're going to use Newsfeed as an example. Newsfeed is a flagship product on Facebook core app. It's the primary way content across users are created into this one seamless scroll. And it's also the way in which Facebook can monetize through advertisement posts. When you think about product breakdown, the first component you want to think about is the problem. What is the problem that the product solves? In the case of Facebook Newsfeed, what it did was it creates content. Prior to the introduction of Newsfeed, users had to go through a series of cumbersome steps to see what the latest Facebook profile status is. They had to go to a profile and look at the status. But with the introduction of Newsfeed, content is provided to you conveniently. The second component you want to think about is the users. Who are the users using the product? What type of users is the Facebook Newsfeed targeting? And in this case, because Newsfeed is such an integral part of Facebook, it's literally on the landing page as soon as you go on the Facebook app. In this case, it's not a particular segment of users that Facebook will try to target using the newsfeed. Rather, it's going to be any users on Facebook. And of course, if we try to pick out perhaps different products such as Marketplace, then we could be a bit more refined in terms of what are the target segment that this particular product is trying to target. But in the case of Newsfeed, we're going to say it's just going to be general for all of Facebook users. The third aspect is onboarding. What is the onboarding process of the product? Basically, we're talking about sign-up process. What are the steps that a user must take in order to be able to start using that product? And the onboarding process in this case is basically just going to be sign up. And the next element that you want to think about is a journey. What is a user experience from the beginning to the end of a task? So this is really all these intermediary steps that a user must take from the beginning to the end in order to achieve basically success. And in the case of Newsfeed, there are a series of actions that users can do. They can scroll to view content, they can react to a content in the form of emojis, they can comment on it, and they can share posts to some external websites. And so when you think about any product, think about all the intermediary steps that helps you go from point A to point B. And the next part is the reward function. How does a product reward users once they have achieved that journey? And in the case of Facebook Newsfeed, what it does is it rewards people in the form of helping people stay connected. And that's a very rewarding thing. When you are up to date with what your friends are doing, then you get a sense of belonging. And every product out there, especially the ones that are very sticky, are always thinking about how can we reward users. The next element is retention. Whenever you look at a graph like this, basically this is a retention curve. And ideally for any product developers out there, they want this retention curve to be retained at a relatively high percentage across time. And so what it deals is, how does a product retain current users? Because if they keep losing users, there's a lot of costs in trying to constantly onboard users. And in the case of Facebook Newsfeed, what it does is it sends out push notifications to mobile phones. And the last element is growth. So growth deals with how does a product grow users. And in the case of Newsfeed, what it does is it allows users to share posts to external websites, thereby making it visible for other users who are currently not on Facebook to basically start using Facebook. So these are the 7 elements that you want to use when you're trying to break down product. And if you keep doing this, what it's going to do is it's going to help you cultivate product sense, which is a driving engine to be able to answer a myriad of product data science interview questions. So if you have a product data science interview coming up, I highly recommend that you use this exercise to understand the intuition of a product. Now, if you stayed with me so far, here's one thing I'd like you to try. Pick out any product you like and break it down and comment it down below in the comment section. And what I will do for the first 10 comments that contains this breakdown, I'll provide my own personal input about what my thoughts are. Now, hopefully, this clarifies the meaning of product sense and how to cultivate it. For more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and check out dataiq.com.